to take us through M&A activity. We're joined by Peter O'Connor from Shaw and Partners. Peter, great to talk to you this afternoon. Okay, you are going to talk gold, aren't you? Because has been out of favour, obviously, with the gold price, under pressure. Although maybe that's turning.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost a year to the day when we got excited about gold. Why did we get excited a year ago? Because the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell indicated at that time, 23rd of March last year, that he would do whatever it took to get the world out of the COVID dip that it was in. So I'm very excited about gold. Gold price peaked 6 months later. Great journey for gold equities and gold price. Peaked in August. Been a bit of a backpedal since then. Gold price has come back 15%. But it does look like where bond markets and commodity markets are pointing, gold does look like it's found a floor. So at about $1,700 US per ounce, gold price is looking interesting. And we've been looking at that for about the last 2 or 3 weeks, thinking what would happen. And a great catalyst over the last 3 or 4 days, the corporates are starting to think that way. So corporate buyers typically have a value bias. And 3 large deals have been announced over just the last 3 or 4 days. 2 in North America, North American companies, and 1 today with Evolution Mining this morning at just before the market opened, and indicating that there's value out there in the gold space from a corporate perspective, and equity market participants likewise could probably see value as well. And with bond markets stabilising, and you've heard commentary over the last day about what the Fed may do this week and where bonds are heading, it does look like gold may move off its recent lows. So good for gold equities as well. So Evolution's M&A may be perfectly timed for this dip in gold price.
And Peter, do you think this is a sign of things to come when it comes to consolidation in that industry?
Yeah, I do, and gold's been a fascinating space, not just for the last 3 or 4 days or the last year, but probably the last 5 or 6 years. And Australian gold equities have been leading the charge. They've done some extraordinarily good deals, whether it's Northern Star and Saracen's deal announced last year and completed this year. Evolution's had a string of deals, and there's been a whole bunch of deals throughout the sector. And when you think about the context of mining, gold mining included, the history of M&A has been pretty average. BHP included, Rio Tinto included, and there's probably more deals out there that we know about and remember that are bad than those that are good. But the gold sector hasn't really put its foot wrong for the last 5 or 6 years, and the deals just of recent days suggest that's the same. So I do expect it to continue, particularly at the lower gold price. We should see some consolidation of inter-sector gold deals, either using cash or paper, and that will continue. And it's been the theme for the last 3 or 4 years, and likely to continue as well. Again, with that gold price backing, it's a good time for the gold corporates and gold investors to be buying.
Yeah, and there appears to be a lot of exploration out there at the moment. Peter, you're expecting more players to come to the fore?
They do, and if you look at the numbers for exploration spend over the last quarter and the last year, they follow the commodity price, as is typically the case. So more money going to the ground. It's very hard to get drills in either WA or Australia in general, or even offshore. So people are drilling, and also assaying of your drill cores when you do get them. There's a big backlog of results to be assayed as well. So yeah, I do expect it to continue, and with gold price even at these retraced levels about 15% below the recent high, it's still a very attractive level at around $1,700 US per ounce to be looking for gold. So given gold costs typically in Australia average around about $1,000 US per ounce, that's a pretty decent margin to have going forward. So look, I do see more equity activity in terms of equity capital market. That'll be feeding back into the ground, into drilling. Some more M&A activity, as I just mentioned, inter-sector, and that will continue over the course of this year. And again, with that tailwind of looking like a bottoming in the gold price, that should help as well.
And Peter, are there any specific names that you would look to have in your portfolio?
I could say the short answer is you buy anything in gold, because all the gold stocks are in what I call the naughty corner. They've gone from being extremely overvalued, really outperforming stories August last year. They're now sitting down in the lower left-hand corner of my valuation versus performance quadrant, and they've been there now for the last month or so, and deservedly so given that backpedaling price. But the whole sector is looking cheap, much cheaper than it has been, and trading about 0.6 to 0.7 times fair value, so quite a deep discount to what they would normally trade at. And given over the course of a cycle, that would be seen as a low. Again, another indication of a turning point. But the names that stick out, Northern Star. It's not typically been the cheapest one out of the group of Australian gold stocks, but for reasons that are aside from what Northern Star is doing at its operations, it's looking very cheap, probably the cheapest big cap and even the mid cap stock in gold in Australia. Why? Because there's been a major index rebalance happening offshore in a VanEck ETF called the GDX and the GDXJ, and those index rebalances have seen the stock for Northern Star under pressure for pretty much the last 5 or 6 weeks, which has seen short interest pick up and the stock falling much more than its peers. So if I had to pick a name with a quality outlook, great deal to consolidate with Saracen they announced last year and completed this year, it's Northern Star. And I couldn't normally have said it looks that cheap. It's always been a great company and delivered, but now it's looking to be one of the cheapest gold names. So that would be my top pick right now.
Are you looking at small and medium to large caps, or are you looking right across the board?
Yeah, look, I look from Newcrest down through Northern Star, Revolution, Saracen, St Barbara, Regis, Ramelius, etc. And we like gold price because we think it's bottomed out in the near term. I like the medium term, sort of 1, 2, 3 thematic as well. And we do see gold price rallying to make a fresh new high at some stage between now and 2022-23. And we've got a target out there in the mid-low $2,000 an ounce mark, so we see substantial upside. So on that basis, we'd buy everything from the big end right down. But the key names for me, Northern Star I've just mentioned, Newcrest at the very large end. It's globally competitive with its peers, but got a great growth story that it's mapped out, and the market hasn't yet embraced that. And at the smaller end, we like names such as Matador, exploring in Canada and looking really interesting. Geopacific Resources in PNG, about to start commencement of development, and also in WA, the next Evolution looks to be Ramelius, which has bought some assets off Evolution and starting to do the plan or the pathway that Evolution's run on over the last 5 or 6 years. So a smattering of names across the board, but again, it's times like this when everything's cheap, you could almost buy anything in gold and you would do well on that gold price recovery at the moment.
All right, you've picked it. A few names to go with there. Peter, much appreciated. Thanks for joining us from Shaw and Partners.
Thank you very much.